Hi everybody, welcome back to Bike to Table. My name's John. Today we're doing something a little different. We're checking out and doing a product review of these Progressive 944 shocks. So Progressive made these shocks specifically for touring bikes. What does that mean? That means they're heavier duty, the coils are compressed more together, so it gives you a little bit better balance for those heavy loads that you'll be having. If you have a bagger and you're traveling, or if you're two up, you naturally have a heavier load in the back end, and that's where these shocks really help out. Now, some of the technology that goes into these is they have a dual valve suspension. I won't get into the whole magic of what's inside of it, but basically that means there's a smaller valve and a bigger valve. Smaller valve for when you take the smaller bumps, and a bigger valve for when you take those really hard potholes on the highway. Some of the technology that they put into the shock is they have this thing called FST, which stands for Frequency Sensing Technology. What that means is it senses what kind of impact you're having, and it automatically adjusts inside the shock to give you the smoothest ride. Something else that this shock has is up inside this cover, they have a second spring that you can use for your pre-adjusting load. It's easy to use. You can just twist this knurled portion up top here, just like I did, and you can preload your bike on the fly. So if you're sensing that you need to have a little bit smoother ride, you have a little bit more weight on there that you thought, you can pull off to the side of the road, take off your bag and adjust this. It's that simple. No tools needed, just your hand. Something else that I like about these shocks is that most of the Harley Tourers have a 13-inch shock. So you have that travel. What these do, it gives you a 12-inch shock, but still with that 13-inch travel. What that means is it's a little bit lower to the ground, and it's easier to get off the side stand if you do have that heavy load on the back. Now, I did test this feature. Before I had the shocks on, I had my wife sit on the bike beforehand, and then again just after. She definitely noticed a difference in the height. It was easier for her to straddle and get on the bike, and it was easier for her to get off the side stand. So I'm thinking it's enough talk about the technology. Let's go for a ride. Something that I did over the winter time is I installed a set of Progressive suspension 944 heavy duties in the rear. The old shocks, after about 10 years of having the bike, the old shocks gave it up, got wore out. Still in the process of dialing them in. But I can tell you right now, already, even though I've only gone a couple miles on this, the bike seems to be taking the bumps a little bit better, because along this road, which is why I picked it to go on, is kind of washboard, the whole length of it. So you're at like 55 miles an hour and hitting those washboards, and it's just rattling around. Usually the bike would be rattling, I would be rattling. And it may be a little bit, maybe a little bit bumpy, but at least it doesn't feel as bad as it did last year. Let's see how she handles these bumps here. Oh, nice. That was a nice solid feeling on those shocks. Last year I'd bounced my back end out a little bit on those. This was completely secure. It was sat down on that road, man. That was definitely a solid feeling going around that corner, because at each one of those bridge joints on that curve over the last couple years, my back end would kick out just a little bit. But those Progressive suspension, man, it just kept my back tire sucked onto the road. Definitely a more secure feeling in that curve. The other thing why I got the Progressive suspension, the 944 series, is because they're made specifically for Harley touring. And the baggers and the weights and the size of the baggers. But I can tell you, the way that it feels, much more solid of a feeling, just riding straight even. And the little bumps that happen along the highway here, it just smooths them out much more than it was last year with my old stock Harley. Let's see about these curves here. Oh, solid, man. Bike leaned over, hitting those bumps. I didn't go anywhere. So I picked the 944 heavy duties because I'm a bigger guy, and I'm already, you know, I joke and I say I'm already a 2-up rider just for myself, but you know, I put luggage on, I fill up both saddlebags, put on my backrest, and put a set of luggage on the back for when I'm going on my week-long trips or something. You know, and the back end gets pretty heavy. There have been many a times over the last couple years I've bottomed out when I'm going down the highway and I hit a bump and it just jolts me. And so I know that, you know, the shocks have been getting worn out, you know, with the air suspension, the stock air suspension on the touring. You know, it just kept feeling more and more worn, you know, because I went with the heavy duty because of the weight. Now they have other grades of these. They have the heavy duty, they have the standard, but I made sure that I got the upgraded one. A couple bucks more, but I'm worth it. But all these joints here, man, nice and smooth. That's where I'm picking the way that I'm going here, is because I want to feel all these bumps. So I was looking for something to refresh my ride, you know, with the feeling of it, and because I was just getting bounced in the tail end here. Never had a problem with the front, and just the back end, I kept getting bouncier and bouncier, hitting those washboard roads where it's like bump after, you know, the progressive bumps after bump after bump after bump, and it just kept getting worse. You know, the changes of the concrete pavement, you have one that's up at a slight angle, you know, you get the bounce off that. You know, I just wanted to be more secure feeling on the road. And it was 10 years, the shocks were getting worn out, so I got the progressives. And I can honestly say they're really nice. They're riding me around nice and smooth around town here. Had them out on the highway. You know, I did not do the front because two reasons. There was nothing wrong with the front. Okay. Because of two reasons. There was nothing wrong with the front, and of course, you know, expense played into it as well. Sits me back in that corner. Nice. That was a nice solid corner, man. That felt good accelerating out of that. We'll do the test here with the railroad tracks. Not bad. Nice. Okay, well, not bad. So I'm happy with my purchase of those shocks. I had them on the highway, taken highway bumps with it, take the Washboard road with them, took railroad tracks with it, leaned into a a nice 45, 50 mile an hour corner on the highway with the bridge dividers. Took those, made me feel more solid in that corner than I have in years. So I'm very happy with the suspension. Really happy with the purchase and the price I got them at. Installation, not a problem. The other thing I like is when put on luggage, I've already tested it, and you don't need a tool, you can actually rotate and turn the preload. So you can dial that up if you know you're going to be weighing it down with luggage in the saddlebags or an extra pack on the back. So all around, I'm really happy with those. So all in all, I'm really happy with the Progressive suspension that we bought. Thanks for watching. I'm John. Catch you next time on Bike to Table. Remember, live to ride, ride to eat.